We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the CashFlowPro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of CashFlowPro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I'm here today with Erin Hudson of Quattro Capital. Erin, how are you?
So good. It's such a pleasure to be on here with you, Casey. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you, and we can't wait to dig in here and hopefully get our listeners some education on real estate investing, capital raising, and just kind of give them some direction. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself and tell us who you are and how you got started?
Absolutely. So my name is Erin Hudson, and I'm currently one of the co-founders of Quattro Capital. And I got started back in 2015, and it really came for me. I was in private practice, and really I was just tired of paying 50 cents of every dollar to the IRS. And I was on a mission to find out how I could be in a more advantageous tax position. And sure enough, real estate came up, got into single family, did some investing there. Within 2 years, acquired 26 rental properties, many of them in a very creative way, because that's how I love to operate. And then further move forward into investing in multifamily.
Time out.
Okay.
Creative way makes my ears go way up. So I either want to put a tag there that says, hey, let's first revisit that, or you discuss it more now, because creative way is, when we start talking about getting started, I was much the same way. And I know what the creative way means when I bought my first rental property. So I want to hear your creative ways though.
Yeah, listen, Casey, I'm so glad you asked, because literally you're going to find out as we walk through this episode together. My superpower is being extremely resourceful. I love coming up with ideas to be creative. We all hear OPM, which is other people's money, all day long.
Yep.
But I kid you not, I was hungry to get in the game when I found out about real estate. And so when I talk about creative, yes, some people have money in their pocket and they can buy an investment property. Some people do not. And some people just love the challenge. And I will tell you, I am the latter. I love the challenge of how can we put a great deal together and help both parties to win.
Yep.
So that was really where it all started, Casey. And when I had found out from a patient of mine, we had got talking about real estate, and he said, man, I just love the mailbox money. And my ears perked just like yours did. And I said, well, tell me more. I'd love to learn about mailbox money.
Yep.
And that's when he started to share about single family properties and how every month a check would come in the mail, and he'd done it many times over. And so I asked a lot of questions, and long story short, I ended up buying a package of 6 investment properties. Here I am living in Southern California, and the median house price is $800,000, and I certainly wasn't going to do my investing there. True. And so I went to go find out where do they have the lowest taxes, and where is the place to invest where you can get a tenant out the quickest if they decide not to pay rent. And I stumbled across Indianapolis, Indiana. So that's where I got started. And when you put your feelers out there and you start to say, okay, Indianapolis, Indiana, and whatever you want to call it, I put it in the universe of that's where I wanted to invest. Call it a little bit woo or whatnot, but went to the gym, talked to a buddy, started talking about real estate with him. And he said, well, I have a friend that's looking to sell a 6-pack of homes. And I said, well, tell me where. And what did he say? Indianapolis, Indiana. And here I am living in Southern California. So long story short, I ended up purchasing this 6-pack, but let me tell you something. The 6-pack cost me just under $300,000 for 6 properties. So
Compared to
you can
800 for one.
50,000 per one of these properties. And as I said, in California, it's 800,000 for a home, median house price.
Yep.
So I was super intrigued. So anyhow, I did not have 300,000 sitting in my back pocket. Initially, I was set out to buy one. When I saw the package of the 6, I was on fire for figuring out how in the hell I was going to buy these 6. I did not have the money, but I knew that I had grit to figure out how I was going to take those down.
Yep. And that's what it takes. That's the creative part. So now tell us how it went down. What was creative about it?
Sure. Well, listen, the creativity, as I got going with all of the properties I was purchasing, the creativity got even more intense and better. But it did start with, okay, well, I had $100,000 in my bank account and I had, I don't know, $48,000 on a credit card that I could cash advance. And then I went to my in-laws and said, I would love to offer you a great opportunity at 7% interest. And let's just say I found a way to get that $300,000 in my pocket so that I could be in the position to not just purchase one, but take down all 6. And that's exactly what I did. And the rest is history because I got on fire for creativity like a banshee.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that the my creative story, and I'm going to give a very, very brief synopsis just because I know you've heard this direction as well. But the first 4 properties that I bought, it was actually 5 doors, 4 properties, with 2 different sellers, and they ended up just financing it for me. Basically, the sellers, one of the sellers had one of the doors, and that theirs was paid for, so that didn't take anything. The second seller had to get I believe it was I can't remember what they called the agreement between, because they had a mortgage on the other 3 properties, 4 doors, 3 properties, and they had to get I can't think of what that thing between the bank is called, like a agreement where we're all working together, and they're like, okay, they financed it for me. The credit was, or the loan was held in their names. The deed was in my name, and I had a mortgage to them. They in turn had a mortgage to the bank. So it worked out. It was there's like any kind of that stuff that you can sit down and just put your mind to and figure out how to do it. Now, the sellers that held the debt, that had the bank note, the 4 doors, 3 properties, I had a little bit of a challenge there because I had actually been turned down at the bank. Like, I went to the bank and was like, hey, this is a whoop ass deal. I've got to buy this. This is just positive cash flow day one. And the bank was like, yeah, sorry, we don't have enough, whatever it was.
Right.
So I tell you, the grit, that's where it comes down. The grit.
No, listen, I agree. I think when you get a little taste of that, when you get a taste and you have a win like that, like I did when I bought this 6-pack, it puts you on fire for wanting to do more. And the creativity just enhances. And as you win and you structure something extraordinaire, all of a sudden your confidence, you climb the ladder there and you get to a place where you feel like you're unstoppable and that you're just going to continue to go and win and go and win. And every time you do, that confidence goes to a whole nother level. And that's why I tell people, look, as you win, celebrate the wins. Because as we celebrate the wins, that's when the greatness just starts to go through the roof.
Yep.
Right.
That's when you really start realizing that, hey, maybe this stuff isn't just things I need to keep sitting around listening to. These are the things that I need to be doing.
Sure.
So tell us what year was all of this? What year did this initial part in Indianapolis go down?
Sure. This was in 2015.
Okay.
And so after I had purchased those 6, then I was like, oh my gosh, I started to dig in and study more. And I found out that there was something called a double close. And so I didn't know anything about it. I had never been to a course that talked about and educated me on double closes.
Yep.
But like I said, I don't make excuses. When I hear something, I'm like all the way or no way. So what did all the way look like? And I would love for your listeners to hear this, because there's so many excuses people have about, oh, I don't have the money, I can't make it happen, I don't have the time. Listen, I was in private practice,
Yep.
2 practices, 5 kids, and here I am doing real estate on the side. And so when I say that I just got creative, once I found out about this double close, I literally called a title company in Indianapolis, and I will never forget. I feel like it was yesterday. I literally got on the phone, and the lady answered, and I said, "Hey, hi, Sally." I said, "This is Erin." I said, "Listen, I heard there's something called a double close that we can do in Indiana." I said, "Would you mind just helping a sister out and kind of walk me through how that works? I'm super intrigued." And thank God this lady was so nice to me. I'm sitting there taking ferocious notes as she's telling me how the purchase contract is structured and so on and so forth. And so I left that call on fire, and I didn't just sit there and meander with the goodness that I learned. I went and put it to work. So what did I do next? I went to Craigslist and I started to look for properties
Oh my
in
gosh.
Indianapolis, Indiana. So you may wonder, well, Erin, how in the world did you acquire 26 rental properties in 24 months? Well,
Yep.
this is how I did it. I bought 4, sold 3, increased the price, obviously, and kept 1 for free.
Yep.
And I rinsed and repeated. And then what happened next? People found out where I live, what I was doing, and that I had acquired a handful of properties. At this point, I had acquired 12 properties within a 6-month time frame. So when people know you, like you, and trust you, they want what it is that you have.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden, patients of mine, people of mine, friends of mine were coming to me saying, "Hey, can you help me acquire properties in Indianapolis? I want to play too, and I'd love a rental property."
Yep.
So that's really how it unfolded. And so I think that, I don't want to belabor it, but honestly, the next thing that occurred is I ran into a gentleman. That had a pack of 60 homes in Indianapolis, Indiana. He was from California.
Okay.
So I want your listeners to hear this too, because it's another way of getting strategic. So anyways, I meet this gentleman. I find out he's selling this pack. And so I said to him, "Listen," I said, "I saw your pack." I said, "I want to buy the whole entire thing." And he goes, "You do?" And I said, "Yeah. So what I need to do is, I'd love to sit down with you and come to an agreement on what is the price that you're willing to take if I were to purchase every single one of those." So this gentleman, because I watered the relationship, I spoke his language, I got him to a place where he was willing to share with me what the price was he was willing to sell for if I were to buy the whole package. Friend, we didn't even talk about when we were going to have it purchased by. I certainly didn't have all the money to buy his package of homes.
Sure.
But what I will tell you is, once we watered that relationship a little bit, I said, "Listen, I am going to buy all of these homes if you will allow for me to buy them 4 at a time. I'm going to do it in a fierce fashion and in a mighty time frame." And that's all I said. I didn't give him a time frame. I just said, I gave him those words, and it was enough for him to bite the hook and go with it. So what did that look like? I just got more on fire for goodness. And what I did is, when people were coming to me to buy homes, I would sell 4 of them all at the same time. And so I would do that double close that I learned from that sweet little Sally at the title company.
Yeah.
And I literally, let's just say, for example, that I had a $10,000 upswing, an uptick or delta on each of those homes. That's in essence $40,000 of commissions to me.
Correct.
So let's just say the net of it is this. I ended up selling 50 of his, it was actually a 70 pack. And I took all of the commissions. Instead of him paying me out and giving me that $10,000 per property, I put him in a little pot. And I took that pot of money and I exchanged it for his inventory for me to hold on to.
Yep.
That makes sense?
Yep.
So literally, a purchase contract said $1 for the other 14 properties that I acquired. So I purchased 12 on my own with my own money, and I acquired 14 more from literally just selling off part of his portfolio and throwing in some for me.
Now, I'll tell you, part of where this gets a little interesting for me, and I am basically, my wife will tell you, I'm the devil's advocate. I work for him directly. Like I work for the devil. I'm the devil's advocate when it comes to things
That's
like
awesome.
this. Now, one of the things, so I had a guy on my show here several years, been a while ago now. We talked about, there's a term called novation.
Okay.
Um, it's very similar to what you're talking about. However, it was more along the lines of going and securing a contract to purchase a property and then
Mhm.
never closing it, but then basically like selling that contract to somebody else and keeping the delta, the difference in between, and then basically they never take title to the property. The property shifts from
Sure.
from the seller to their buyer directly, and they take the money, which in turn is, it's very questionable, really. Not necessarily maybe from a legal standpoint, but from a standpoint of saying, you got to be really careful, because you buy something and somebody finds out you made $100,000 and you didn't do anything but sign your name on two lines. I mean, it gets pretty sticky pretty quick, and all it takes is one of those to cost you get sued for one of them, and then you lose the profit from 50 of them to pay for that, right? But anyway, and what I guess I'm getting at is not that it's dishonest, and not that it's anything like that, because we all know it's just straight up business. It's just a shrewd way of doing business. How did you hold this? I guess my concern in coaching people to go that direction is holding that seller's feet to the fire. As you're making, he's got 70 houses to sell, you get 30 in, and he realizes you've done chunked off uh 300,000 or whatever in cash, 10,000 a pop,
Mhm.
whatever. And
Yeah.
he says, listen, I'm out. You're not buying any more of my houses. I'm going to do that. Or,
Yeah,
now
but
obviously
why
you've
does
got a contract, but at the same time, that contract, yeah, contracts are contracts. I'm in a lawsuit right now with a lady, and I'm 30 grand deep in legal fees. And
wow.
and that's just right at 10% of the purchase price. So what I'm getting at is enforcing the contract, then it becomes an enforcement issue. So what steps did you take to ensure that the seller wasn't going to say, "Hey, Aaron, I'm out"? This, I mean, or did you tell them, say, "Hey, I'm going to make good money on these things"? How did all that look?
Yeah. So he knew what I was doing as we started to get in through that, right? I will tell
Yeah.
you two things from the buyer side and the seller side. It can get sticky from the buyer side, and it can absolutely get sticky from the seller side. So let me address both. If a lot of people were out there and what they were doing were wholesale, you see people wholesaling all day long or
Yeah.
assigning the contract, okay? I will tell you something. Yes, I could have assigned the contract and made $2,000. I would never feel comfortable trying to charge $10,000 on a $30,000 house. That
Hmm.
just doesn't make sense, right?
Yep.
So think of it this way. Here I am in California, and I'm selling to people that are in different states, and they certainly are not they're certainly not in Indianapolis, Indiana, right? So I
Yep.
can do one of two things. I can assign a contract, or I can create a turnkey, meaning I already had, remember, I bought my first six. So I
Yep.
had boots on the ground for construction if things need to be done or put lipstick on the pig. I had my property manager, and my property management company puts tenants in place. So what I like to do was people are looking, I want to be the problem solver. People
Sure.
that live in different states don't want to take an assignment of a contract. They want the turnkey,
Yeah,
right?
they want
Wait,
to know. Yeah,
yes. So it made way more sense to be the person. You know how it goes. He who solves the largest problem gets the biggest paycheck. I could have
that's
settled
right.
for the 2,000 assignment. I didn't want that. I wanted the $5,000 to $10,000 uptick, and I knew that I could get that if I were to buy it and then turn in us and sell it to the next person,
And be
right?
able to
Do
hand the
that
keys back.
double close and
So
be
you
behind the
actually took
curtain
title to the properties.
for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, I don't need my buyer to know how much I'm making off it. It's not their business. And second of all, I don't care who you are, people get greedy.
Yep.
Instead
Well,
of them looking at
that right there, that's the crux of what I'm talking about.
yeah,
The greed part of it. That's
yes,
right. The seller and the buyer thinking Erin's making X.
yep,
Hey,
yeah.
we can cut her out, or I'm not selling you anymore.
But think about it. Why would have the seller not done that in the first place? Because it takes time, because
That's
you
right.
have to have relationships, because you have to have a lineup of people that know you, like you, and trust you.
Yep.
And just to fast forward on that, guess what? I did good business with all of those people that now had turnkey properties when I moved into the multifamily space, because I did not manipulate them and I did good sound business. They jumped into the multifamily space with me. And then second of all, here's the other thing. I would share with people, look, when I got in the business in Indianapolis, Indiana, guess how much I had to pay for my properties when I first got in? You already know, because I told you, $50,000 a pop. So if I'm getting them for $30,000 and selling them to $40,000, the same type of property, they're already getting an intro. They're coming in at a lower buyer price than what I had to pay when I got started.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
But they're winning. There's no manipulation. They won far better than I did.
Well, and that's the other part that's difficult for people to understand is the money in your hand today versus, and so I guess what I look at would potentially be, unless it was a seller that I absolutely knew wasn't going to get flaky on me or wasn't going to start trying to bend or change the rules halfway through the game, try to figure out a way to close them all and then sell them off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, something along those lines.
That's great, but I didn't have all the money to do that. Nor the thing is, I knew that I had a seller that was willing to work with me. Why? Because what I was doing was truly locking up 5 at a time, locking them up, closing in a month, and then going out to work and finding those 5 buyers so that we could close on that same day. I had a pool of people that were getting referred to me, right? I didn't have a website, Casey. I didn't even have an extra phone number. I just was doing good sound business. So I was getting referred a lot of people to me as I was in private practice.
Where did you find the buyers for these? Were they just, did you have a list that you were working from? Did you have a...
So check this out. It's all about influence, Casey. Mm-hmm. It's all about influence. Let me tell you, I was not putting these houses up on Craigslist. I wasn't listing them anywhere. I literally had people coming to me saying, hey, I heard you buy investment properties in Indianapolis. I would do one, sell it to somebody. And guess what? They would turn me on to their grandpa or their brother or their whoever or their friend. And same thing. I would go to a lot of conferences. People knew what I was doing. I would be asked to speak on the stage and share my story about how I acquired real estate. Well, guess what? You walk off the stage and it's almost like paparazzi's there and they want to know how they can get in the game.
They want to know how they can get a piece of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really word of mouth. It was being in the right place at the right time. And, you know, we all know that proximity is power. You want to be in a room where people are hungry and on fire for what it is that you're doing.
That's right. That's right. I think is that your phone that I keep hearing?
Oh, I thought it was yours.
No, I don't think it is.
It sounded like it was coming from your speaker, but I don't know.
I guess maybe for all I know, it could be. No, I don't think I have anything else open here. So, so where now? I want to go back and rediscuss the finding the sellers. I know we talked about Craigslist for the first few, but did that end up being something that you like? Was that a strategy that you kept doing?
Say it one more time.
The finding the sellers. Now, like I said, I know on the first deal you talked about Craigslist. But what about the rest? Like, how did that move along?
So when I would find somebody on Craigslist, I'd ask the magical question after I purchased, hey, are you going to be having any more homes in the future that perhaps you want to sell to me? No, I don't have anything. Or yeah, I'm going to actually be grabbing another one. They were doing the same thing I was doing, think about it. They're local in Indianapolis, so they're getting better prices than I'm getting, and they have their pulse on things. I don't. I'm in a fully other state, right? So, and then furthermore, I would say, or do you know anybody that currently is selling properties? And here's the thing, guys. It's like if you take care of people, I'm not just talking about being kind. Listen, the first guy that sold me 3 of his properties, I found out what motivates him, what makes him tick, what does he love to do in Indianapolis? It's not just about a transactional thing. People want to be appreciated. They want to know that people care. Do they not?
Yep.
So what did I do? I found out that he loves the Indy, whatever it is, the horse race thing that goes on there in Indy. Anyways, I sent him tickets to go.
Car race. Are you talking about the car race?
500. Yes. See,
the horse race is in Louisville.
Okay, well, forget about the horse races. I just wanted to give you guys a giggle. But yeah, no, it was the Indy 500. I sent him tickets, Casey. And guess what?
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the CashFlowPro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making CashFlowPro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
You want to know what this guy did for me? I would have little hiccups and things happen. He owned a furniture store. And I would have little things happen to my property. I would call him up and say, hey, I'll pay you $100. Any chance you can go out to my property and go check things out and da-da-da-da? Or whatever. Or could you go fix this? Or maybe my property manager was giving me some high, crazy price to get something fixed. I'd go back to him and be like, hey, do you have anybody that can do this at a better price?
And
yeah,
like, I got you. That many properties, you know damn good well he had a list of people to do stuff.
Of course. At great price.
And that's I guess you're going right down the path that I knew you would, and that was continuing to cultivate and nurture and grow that relationship, because what I think so many people want to do, and I think it's the natural way that the brain, sorry, now that was mine. It's the natural way the brain is wired to take the path of least resistance, right? And what so many people try to do is they try to move people down that process faster than they need to be moved. Like they call somebody and they're like, hey, I'll pay you $30,000 for that house. Oh, sweet. You know, and you give me and my kids and my family, we really want to buy that house. We love that house. We can't wait to live in that house. And then all of a sudden they find out that, hey, maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe you were buying it to sell it, or maybe you come up with some story to get it bought, and then you turn right around and boom, it's on the market. You move people too fast, and you don't nurture and keep and hold that relationship, because the seller obviously is giving you some value. You're giving the seller some value. And as long as those values, as long as there's some weight in those values being held, it's a good way to keep that relationship moving forward instead of it going sideways and all of a sudden everybody's pissed off.
Sure. You know, you're spot on with that, Casey. I love that you touched on that. Here's the thing. People don't want to be transactional. They don't. They want to know there's more. They want the love. They want to be appreciated, right? Yep. So, for example, this gentleman that I bought 4 houses from, then all of a sudden I'm asking him if he could help me and do some things if he was looking to make a little extra money, and I'd have him come and help me with some things on the side for my properties. Well, guess what? I didn't just stop there. I wasn't just the taker. Yes, I was paying him, but we became friends on Facebook. So all of a sudden he would post something about his family and his sweet little kids. Well, guess what I would say? Oh my gosh, those are the most precious little babies. It looks like y'all are having fun on your camping trip. Enjoy the time and make some awesome memories.
Yep. And now all of a sudden you've moved into his world, and you're a trusted source of whatever friendship.
So that's exactly where I would get more properties from, Casey, because of that. And it wasn't manipulation. If only people would understand manipulation, people can see right through that, right? People want to know that you truly, truly care about them, and it's not a transactional move.
Yep. And the transactional move, you're right. That's where people get lost, and that's where things go sideways. And like I said, there is some value, and as long as the value that's being traded is understood and discussed, and the friendship remains, and
Yep.
you continue to discuss after everything is done, then you're able to move on. And that's just the way it is. And the other thing that people lose sight on, Erin, is be thankful. Be
Mhm.
thankful when the seller's done and you've made your X amount of dollars off just this last batch of deals. Just a simple, hey man, thanks. I really appreciate everything we've done. I can't wait to do some more. Whatever. Show you're thankful, and
Yeah.
that they there again, you're trading the love back and trying to hold the deal together. But if you go in and you start splashing, hey, I'm making this much money off this many houses, you need to come do what I do, blah 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 blah. Then he sees that, he's gonna be like, listen here,
Yeah, no, I think
not
you're
anymore.
spot on. I think it's also like bringing the value back around, right? I'll never forget when I purchased these 50 properties from this gentleman. Those proceeds and what I made off of doing those transactions, let's just call it was roughly $375,000. Well, he won in two ways. Number one, or I won too, but the $375,000 I didn't take into his commission. Therefore, I didn't have to pay taxes on it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he won because he got rid of his inventory. He
Yeah.
didn't have to sit and wait and so on and so forth. But I will tell you what he did say to me. He said, Erin, by the way, he's a venture capitalist. So he's a smarty pants dude, but he came to me and he said, where in the heck did you come from? He goes, I cannot believe the way you positioned these, and I cannot believe the way your brain thinks. And most people would want the commissions and send me the money and send me the money. And he goes, it was brilliant that you said, sell it to me for $1. He goes, that is absolutely genius, right? He goes, and here I'm the venture capitalist, and you're teaching me a thing or two.
Yeah.
And the way
He's got a more scaled mindset if he's a venture capitalist for sure. And I can't
and
imagine a
he
venture
even further,
capitalist ever ending up in a situation where they own 70 single family rentals. But
right?
that's crazy to me in and of itself. I mean, I guess maybe if they stepped into the waters and tested something like that, but man, that's certainly outside of the realm of most venture capitalists that I know. They'd be like,
Right.
I'm
Well,
not.
he listens. He said to me, and it went further than that. But basically, at one point, I was looking to get. I was buying two. I was buying two of these properties for $100,000 from him,
Yeah.
and I said, "Hey, can you actually create two separate purchase contracts for me? One for my IRA for $3,000, and make this other property $97,000."
Mhm.
Why? Because I only had 3,000 freaking dollars in my IRA, my self-directed IRA, and I wanted to put it to work.
Yep.
He didn't care. He was getting the $100,000. How he got it didn't matter.
Yep.
But when he saw
Title.
the way I
Yeah.
was structuring that, he was like, "Girl, you are a beast. Where the heck did you come from?"
Yeah.
So it's getting strategic like that. But man, is it
Well, and
fun?
then you start moving around, and like you said, you've moved around taxes, you've moved around. Now, you haven't had to complete the 1031s, you haven't had to do a lot of different things. At the end of the day, it worked out good. So, listen, Erin, we're running out of time, but with that, we've got a couple of questions we ask every guest that comes on the show. And the first question is, what is the best book that you've recently read or are currently reading?
Oh my gosh, hands down, Who Not How is the best book.
I
It's a
was
game
gonna say
changer.
you're a walking who not how. I felt like this whole conversation. I'm like, this lady doesn't worry about how to do it. She knows that there's an end result somewhere out there now. Who can I find that's going to help me? That's going to help me leverage my way to that position. And
You
I
got
thought
it.
that the whole episode. You're a walking who not how. So uh, might
I'll take
call him and
that
see
as
if you
a
can be a spokesman for it.
I'll tell you, I'll take that as a compliment. That book is an absolute
It was meant as a compliment for sure.
thank
Absolutely,
you.
because I think that if more people focused were relationship focused like you are and not transactional focused, because one of the things that a matter of fact, I heard it yesterday. I'm trying to think of somebody said the second you turn people into a number, they get lost themselves and they get lost to you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, social media has made that world, they have encapsulated that world in the computer or the phone or whatever your source, whatever your medium is. And they've made it where people are simply a product.
Yep. You are.
And people long for, I've noticed that in the real estate sales business, people long for you to come to their house, sit down with them. You don't have to break bread. You don't have to have a drink. You don't have to do anything like that. Just come sit down and be a presence in their life.
Absolutely. You are spot on, Casey. It's so true. It's so, so true. Thank you, though. I really appreciate that compliment.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Next question. What is a dream vacation that you have taken or hope to take?
Oh, dream vacation. I will tell you.
You tell me Indianapolis, I'm out. I'm hitting the end.
No. Honestly, I have a heart for just serving the less fortunate. And for me, it's really taking my kids to third world countries. Yeah. I think the best that we've done that I really, really was near and dear to my heart was July 2012. We went and built an orphanage in Belize, Belmopan, Belize, with my kids. And then that Christmas went back and took Christmas presents to the kids. You know, we have it so well here in the United States, and it's amazing how you give a kid a pair of tennis shoes and a pair of pajamas brand new, and they are so elated, and the smile on their face, just, you'll never forget it, and it wrecks your heart. So I would say definitely
that. You know, I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about the fact that streaming TV, right? Streaming TV, if you use one of those services, like I enjoy watching, say, 2 football games at the same time, right? And you click the back button and you go back and forth. Well, streaming TV doesn't have a back button. And he and I had literally had a 10-minute discussion about how that just was maddening. And then I stopped and I asked him, I said, have you ever heard a more first world conversation than we just had? Like, here we are, these people out there, like you just said, there's people out there that don't have a clean pair of shorts to put on to go to bed. And here we are spending our time discussing and having a discussion about what the back button on a streaming TV app.
Sure. So anyway,
yeah. But all right. Well, Erin, how can the listeners reach out and get in touch with you? I know I can guarantee you they're out there clamoring right now, wanting to learn more about these maybe not so simple methods, but we'll call it pathways.
Sure.
They want to learn more about the pathways that you created and maybe how they can do it themselves.
Yes. Well, listen, you can find me definitely visit our website at www.thequattro, QUATTROWAY.com. Why? Because not only do I want you to get to know me, but I want you to get to know my partners, because they are class act, and what we're doing and how we're helping the world one person at a time is nothing shy of mind blowing. You can also find me on Facebook or Instagram, Erin Hudson.
Awesome. Erin, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And listeners, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And while you are here, before you go, run down there, scroll down there, however you get down there, smash that subscribe button so that you can be notified when we release new episodes, new content. And while you're there, please leave us a review so that others may know what you like, love, and enjoy about the CashFlowPro podcast. And Erin, thank you again so much. We really, really appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
All right. Cheers, mate.
CashFlowPro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.